Hello, welcome to this free software architecture course for beginners. Today we will learn one of the most universal and the most simple architecture approach that we can use in pretty much any application. For example, it can be used for backend, web applications, desktop applications, mobile applications, and test automation. In the first part of our course, we're going to talk about the theory, and this is what our today's video is about. In the theory, we're going to cover what is software architecture for and what it cannot do. So we will try to explain what it can and what it should solve, and what problems it cannot and shouldn't be trying to solve. And finally, I will introduce you to a three-layer pattern which I called test club, simply because it is a little bit unconventional way of applying entire architecture pattern heavily influenced by clean architecture and hexagonal architecture patterns. I think this approach is actually the most universal and the most simple, and that's why I believe everyone should know about it. In the second part of our course, which will be hopefully released next week, we're going to turn our theoretical knowledge into practice. We are going to develop back-end web application, including persistence, the whole set of create, retrieve, update, and delete operations, and authentication. So I will do my best to make this example, while simple, also very much practical, so we can really apply the theoretical knowledge from the first part of this course. And having said all that, let's jump into the first part. So first of all, let's start with a question. Why we need to know or use software architecture patterns? This is mostly because software architecture is there to facilitate non-functional requirements, such as maintainability, scalability, testability, and many others. And regarding the maintainability, using well-known software architecture patterns create a predictable structure that will help programmers to navigate through the code and understand it better and faster. And now, when we know why we need an architecture, let's understand how the architecture is enforced, what it consists of. An architecture can be enforced physically and logically. So how physically we do enforce a software architecture? First of all, we can use folders and packages. The different parts of the software would go to different folders/packages. The other way is to use different repositories. For example, one part of the software will be stored in one repository, another part of the software will be stored in another repository, and so on. And more drastic way to enforce software architecture is to use deployment units. For example, use different microservices for different parts of the system. Or you can put a particular part of an application into different library that can only be used as a dependency. You can use a database as a part of your application, and that will also be enforcing a separation. And of course, there are many other ways to enforce software architecture. Now going to logical separation. We can use an interfaces, access modifiers like making a particular class private, or structural patterns, for example, singleton or builder. Keeping in mind everything that we just discussed, let's learn a bit more about three-layer architecture. Three-layer architecture is heavily inspired by two major architecture patterns. The first one is layered architecture, which is, let's say, the basis for the test club three-layer pattern. Layered architecture, also known as N-tier or tiered architecture, And this is the most common architecture pattern. The main idea of this pattern is to divide software system into horizontal layers, and each layer will have a specific role. Usually, application will consist of 3 to 4 layers, but there is no hard rule in the original layered architecture pattern. And the main idea is the separation of concerns. Let's see an example of a layered architecture pattern. We would have 3 layers. The first layer would be presentation layer, the second layer will be business layer, and the third layer will be persistent layer. And we also have database where we store our data and potentially have some business logic. The important things here are who calls who, and the direction of calls is top to bottom. Presentation layer, for example UI, initiates the interaction with the system. Then presentation layer does all that necessary to process incoming requests in any form and passes everything to the business layer. Business layer does some kind of business logic, which is then passed to the persistence layer, which does some magic required to save or get some data from the database. The interesting one is the inversion of dependency. It is usually a good idea to make your business layer to depend on presentation layer and your persistence layer to depend on business layer. This is done to avoid breaking changes coming from the unexpected direction. For example, if you make some changes in the persistence layer, you don't want those changes to break or change business layer, and the other way around. In reality, in many cases, the dependency direction is not observed and it can be violated in one way or another. But one thing stays common in all proper layered architecture applications is the direction of calls. First of all, the direction of calls goes from top to bottom, and you are not allowed, or at least not advised, to jump through layers. For example, it is not okay for the presentation layer to call persistence layer directly by passing business layer. In a similar fashion, business layer should not be able to reach database by passing persistence layer. And in order to facilitate this separation, in Java and .NET, we usually use interfaces that separate one layer from another. Let's consider an example application. We would have a login screen class as a part of presentation layer. Then the login service, which would be providing the login functionality as a part of the business layer. There will be some kind of user data access object required for database interaction in the persistence layer, and obviously there will be database with its own logic, whatever database it is. Another architectural pattern that inspired the Test Club 3-layer pattern is a hexagonal architecture. It is also very popular, but not as popular as layered architecture. It does have many variations and different names. Hexagonal, ports and adapters, onion and clean architecture. And while it's not necessarily the same thing, they have a very similar ideas behind them. So the main idea behind the hexagonal architecture is to separate business logic from all the outside world. And you do this by making business logic one part of an application and classes that face outside world another part of an application, which are usually called ports. So for example, you will have a port that facilitates UI, another port will expose API, some other port will contact a downstream API or messaging queue or database. And now you can see that there is a distinction between different ports. So some ports are called primary or driving. That is because those ports are starting some kind of processing. Those are the ones that initiate a business function. So for example, when you call your REST API service, you are making your REST API to do something, to respond with something. And that's how you're driving it. A secondary or driven port will be the one that is driven by the application for the application needs. For example, application needs to call some downstream API to get some data or to store some data in the database. Because those ports are not starting an interaction, they are called driven. Now, three-layer task club pattern is basically just a mixture of two ideas, but because it is based on the layered architecture terminology and presented as a typical layered architecture, I think it is usually easier to understand. So let's consider a three-layer pattern in the nutshell. We have a business layer, and this business layer is responsible for all business logic and operations. And we're also exposing from the business layer two interfaces: driving interface, an interface which will start an interaction, and driven interface, an interface that will be used by our application to contact some other system if necessary. So, for example, one interface will be just for command line interface, another interface will be used by both UI controllers and REST API controllers. If you think, for example, about Jenkins, Jenkins has a UI through which you can do all the configuration, but it also has an API through which you can also do all the configuration, pretty much similar to what you do through the UI. And from the maintainability and testability point of view, it would be very convenient if all the API and UI interaction are going through the same interface and same business layer classes. Essentially, it is just two ways to present the same functionality. In a very similar way, when you contact other systems to store data, to get some data, you can have different interfaces because, for example, RabbitMQ is incompatible with data store pattern. But for data storage, you can have a database facade or Mongo client implementing the same interface because the functionality behind the storing data is pretty much the same. And going to the layered architecture terminology, we will have input layer and output layer. So three layers are input layer, business layer, and output layer. So let's consider three-layer architecture benefits and drawbacks. The first benefit, which I think many people would like, is the high testability. If you architecture your application in this way, it will be very easy to test all the functional scenarios without running the whole system. You will be able to test, for example, most of the operations that your application provide without running web service or without having a database for this, which is very convenient. On the other hand, you will need to spend some time initially for development of those boundaries and interfaces. But as life shows, it is not a huge investment. The other benefit of this pattern is that it is very easy to develop and maintain. It is based on layered architecture pattern, which is understood by most of the developers out there. And it is very simple. Essentially, there is only 3 places to look for when you're looking for some part of the application. And those places are very natural and very understandable. However, there is a problem when it comes to understanding what is business logic and what is not business logic. Another benefit is that it is indirectly facilitates scalability. Indirectly, because it doesn't do anything direct to address the scalability concerns, but it allows you to use different ways to address scalability very easy. But as I already mentioned, it is only indirectly. And finally, with some practice, and because this pattern is so simple, you don't need much practice with it, this pattern will become your second nature. And this will drastically increase your productivity, both when writing and changing the software. It does have some important limitations though. Hexagonal port and adapters and task club 3 layers are focused only on the structure of your code. And you need to know that architecture, software architecture, is way more than that. Thinking about deployment units, database choices, microservices, asynchronous versus synchronous communication patterns. This is all architecture, none of which is addressed by these patterns. So if you learn three-layer architecture pattern, you cannot tell that you know everything you need to know about software architecture, and I want you to keep this in mind. But it is still a very good place to start. So if you are new to the software architecture and you don't really know about different software architecture patterns, I would say this is the best place to start. So thank you for joining me for this first lection of this free course. In this second lection, which hopefully will be available next week, but in the worst case should be available in 2 weeks from now, we will build our application using three-layer pattern. So you will be able to apply all the theoretical knowledge that you just got in practice. Don't forget to hit like button if this video was useful for you. And if you think that you might enjoy more videos on this topic, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It was Dядя Sasha and Test Club. See you around.